Okay. All right. George is going to be dialing on here in just a minute. He just left an appointment. Real quick, in the questions panel of the webinar, you should be able to ask questions. Go ahead and start queuing up your questions. This is a Q&A call. This is not a motivation session. This is about answering your questions, whether you have questions about the Flip That Contract portal, about postcards you may have mailed out. Remember, we have dozens of people on this call, and every student's in a different phase of learning. Some of you have just started Module 1. Some of you have finished Module 6. So you're all at different phases, but you can always learn from other people's questions and other people's challenges and things like that. So this is meant to be interactive. It's meant to answer your questions. For those of you that are on the call, if you signed up for Flip That Contract at the REI Expo, you are allowed to go on the FTC bus trip this weekend or on Thursday for you and a partner or guest, and that should be on your screen right now. The website to sign up is ftcfieldtrip.eventbrite.com. If you signed up at the March 2nd or March 3rd seminar, you are able to come for free, just you. It's $50 for a guest, and that would be, in that case, you would actually select one free admission and then one guest, and then you would check out down here with one of these sources. If you are a previous student, for instance, say you joined in October or July of last year, then you would actually select the Flip That Contract student or guest. And if you were one of the VIPs from the July 2011 class, then you would select the $25 trip. So we're having a good response, but even if you did circle on the form at the seminar, you still need to select which one. Several of your schedules have changed. The schedule for the bus trip has changed. We got double booked by the transportation company and had to change the trip on the 14th to the 15th. So that's the reason we did that. We will be meeting at George's office on Keller Springs and Addison at 10 a.m. And from 10 to 12, we'll be doing lunch and classroom preparation, going over the forms we'll be using in the field. And then we'll take off and go look at houses for 4 hours and get you out of there no later than 4:30. So that is the plan for the bus trips. There's 2 of them, like I said, on the 10th or the 15th. And no matter which day, if you circled it on an order form or not, you still need to go to the Eventbrite website and register, just so we know your plans did not change. Randy asked, are we going to upload the Trek 20-11? Yes, it will be uploaded this week, Randy. For the bus trip, do you need to bring the ticket that you were emailed? No, you do not. Okay. Chris asked, when you pull comps for the subject property, what is the maximum year-built difference, plus or minus, you will allow? Also, what's the maximum difference, plus or minus, square footage you'll allow? Pretty good questions there. With regards to year-built, we try to stay within 10 years, plus or minus. What you're really looking for on that is you want to make sure that the house is comparable. You want to make sure that when with regards to it being comparable, you just want to make sure that you're not looking at a brick house versus a frame house. houses that were built in the 70s are different houses that were built in the 80s, and houses in the 80s were built different than the ones in the 90s. So the key is that you're using like properties. So many people use comps and they forget the basis of the word. The basis of the word comp is that it's comparable. So what you're really looking for is that it's comparable. With regards to square footage, I always try to go plus or minus 10%. Sometimes you can go up to plus or minus 20%, but you have to focus and remember that, for instance, a 1,000 square foot house that sells for $80,000 is $80 per foot. And you may have a 1,200 square foot house in the same neighborhood that sells for $85,000. So using that math at 1,200 square feet, well, that's $70 a foot. And you just have to pay attention, because if you're comping a 1,200 square foot house and you use the $80 a foot number from the 1,000 square foot house, well, now all of a sudden you're saying that the 1,200 square foot house would be worth $96,000, and that's not true. And vice versa, you don't want to use the $70 a foot number, because remember, 1,200 square feet at $70 a foot would be $84. You don't want to go $70 a foot at 1,000, because that would put you at 70. So the smaller the house, typically the larger the dollar per square foot that's used, because it's more about the average price that's being paid for houses in an area than necessarily the dollar per square foot. Dollar per square foot is really the just the more common phrase that's used. Yeah, that's fine, Jaime. Anybody else got questions? Don't tell me I got through all the questions of 3 dozen attendees in 12 minutes. No, I cannot hear you. You're all muted by default. You can type your questions, or if you would like to speak, you can raise your hand by clicking on the raise hand button, and then I can unmute you if you want to speak, if you would rather speak than type. I prefer you type, just because then I can always refer back to your question. Brian Farmer just got a buy call from a woman who said she called because his wife is beautiful. Well, Brian, I agree. Casey is pretty. Brian, is that off of the postcards that you started mailing this month? Good deal. Okay, how do you select what marketing pieces lead to your squeeze page and which go to your regular website? I prefer, and within the modules we talk about it, you really only need the squeeze page, the seller squeeze page, and that's what you should print on all of your materials, because you don't want, and I'll show you here on the screen, my seller squeeze page is just timinvest.com, and that's what I print on all of my letters and postcards, and there's one page. They don't have any options other than to watch the video, fill out the form, or call me. Real quick text intro here, and I mean, that's really that. I do need to edit this page and add my phone number in writing on the page. Do that right now. So yeah, I mean, Chris, that's a good question. I'll show you something in just a second. Let's see. Adam, our Google Voice, 972-855-8846, right? Okay. So tell them to call me now. There we go. So this is just my seller squeeze page. This is what's printed on all of my marketing material. Little YouTube video embedded.
I'm Tim Harris. Thanks for stopping by. I buy houses, and you're probably here because you have a house to sell in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Just a simple video we shot behind my office.
I've been doing this over 15 years. My wife was in her.
So it's that simple. And my actual, I guess the website that's on my business card is heritagehomes.com, and that takes them to this site, which gives a little bit more information. Some blogs, some Facebook links, a little page, how does this work? Again, the same video embedded there. We actually ended up getting a lead off of this page today. So that's what we do. On one of your videos, you estimated $10 per square foot for rehab. Do you confirm that by going through the house and tallying items that need to be repaired, or are you just comfortable relying on $10 rule of thumb? Carlos, you need to watch the module on what to offer, how to run the numbers, because $10 a square foot is really just a good starting point. But no, we don't rely on the $10 a foot because there's certain adjustments. Let's see. There are certain adjustments.
Tim, I'm on the line now.
Hey, Roddy. There are certain adjustments that we make. Let's see. I've got a what to offer module here I can show you. And this is recorded in the portal if you're not already to this point yet. Let's see. ERC, on 75 or later, you start at about $10 a foot. On 55 to 75, you start at about $12 a foot. Pre-55, you're going to start at about $14 a foot. Certain increases, if it needs foundation work, $3 a foot. Full roof replacement, you're at $3 a foot. An extra $2 a foot for wood shake or redeck. If it's a steep roof, you're adding $2 a foot on top of the $3 a foot. And two-story and steep stays at $3 a foot. Plumbing repairs below slab, you're adding about $4 a foot. If the house has been updated but it's not original, you can actually subtract $2 to $4 a foot off of that estimate. There's some longhand calculations in here for plumbing fixtures, etc. And that's all in the module. I believe that's all module 3 in lead conversion, running the numbers. So let me get back in here to the questions.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim, let me hold on one second. Let me put this mic a little bit closer. I see the questions, and I don't know if you started off. I mean, we've got people at different modules on this call, and for those of you that are on this call for the first time, and I don't know, Tim, you stopped me, but we love these questions that you're putting up on this, and I think even if you're in module 1 and you're getting, we're answering questions that are on module 4 and 5, I think you'll benefit from that. Tim, I think you'd agree, and I just wanted to kind of welcome all the new people on here and tell you that we're here to support you, and the reason why Tim and I are doing this, number one, is because we think that there's a right way and a wrong way to do everything, and so, we're here to support you 100% and to guide you, and if you have any questions or concerns, Tim, I think that you would agree, and I think all of us would agree, that confusion leads to inactivity. And if you're confused, you're not going to be, if you're confused on how to go on an appointment or how to answer the call or how to write up an offer, you're going to probably avoid that type of activity. So you just need to, these calls are not necessarily us training 101, because we'll let the 30 hours of content do that, but it's really for the questions in between the modules and the questions that you have while watching the modules about setting up your virtual office and all the systems that you need to have. I think all of you guys, if you're first, and even if it's not your first call, is you need to ask, why are you here? I think we all want to make strides in our lives and make a difference and see our bank account increase tenfold, but you need to be committed. And some of you guys, I know 100% are committed, and some of you guys are just, hey, if it's easy, then we're committed. And I'm here to tell you that this business is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy, but there is a method to this, and you can make a very good living doing and listening and acting on what we're talking about. So we're here to answer your questions, but we're not babysitters, and we're not going to try to pull questions out of you. But these coaching calls, you guys really need to take advantage of this time and ask us questions, and I see that there's a bunch of questions being posted. So, my why is, and I think Tim and I, and I'm speaking for both of us, our why is to educate you guys and support you and cultivate a relationship that goes beyond 6 modules. But we need reciprocation. We need to know and see and feel that you guys are 100% committed to this, because we can tell when you've watched modules, and we can tell how many, if you've done exercises. So we're going to grease the squeaky wheels, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I'm in 100% agreement with George, and do focus on that, guys, that if you're not to the part, like George was saying, if you're in Module 1 right now because you just started this process a week or two ago, and you're not to the point of Module 3, the reason George and I have the portal set up the way it is, to where you don't get access to everything immediately, is because we want you to complete everything in Module 1 before you start Module 2. And the old the phrase is drinking from a fire hose, and a 3-inch fire hose can put out about 1,500 gallons a minute, and we don't want you drinking from that. We don't even want you drinking from a water hose. We want you to drink from a glass. And so these calls are great. You're going to learn a lot, but if we're talking about something you're not to yet, you just need to soak it in, and it will make more sense when you get to that point in the training. So anything else, George, or you want to start and pick up with Jaime's question about breaking rules?
Yeah, on mine, I'm looking at questions, and it says, maybe I'm on a different one, but I've deleted quite a few that from audio ones, but
yeah, I've answered them all the way up to Jaime Salas's at 12:17, where he is asking about breaking rules.
Okay. Let me delete all those, and I will. Yeah. Let's see. Will I be breaking any rules if I ask anybody in the Allen area if they want to put together a group of 3 or 4 to join forces and expenses for this area? No, I mean, like, whatever works. I think everyone, to a degree, is their own island, and they have their own methodology, but I think all of us are following, the same rules. And if there's 3 people that Allen is their backyard, then I don't have a problem with it. Where all 3 of you guys combine efforts and you join forces, just like you said, Jaime. And, I don't know about giving out personal information from our students. So I don't know necessarily, Jaime, how to do that without giving, information.
Yeah, if you're networking through the portal, if you're networking on the Flip That Contract Facebook group, if you're meeting people, there's no problem with it. But George and I will caution you that if you're working with anyone, whether it's me and George or another student, just do yourself a favor and make sure that you all have everything in writing on how you're going to work together and who's going to pay for what and how the money's going to be split up and when it's going to be split up before you begin a venture. Because if something's not working out, you don't want to get left holding the bag. In other words, you're waiting for you front some money and someone else doesn't pony up their share, or vice versa. When money comes in, someone was expecting all the money to be divvied up when you were expecting it to be held in the reserve for future advertising. Just make sure your operating agreement and your and how you're going to do everything is written up front.
Yeah, which to me is is going to take some wiring up, and it's going to take some some thought and how to structure that, because it's really easy to enter into a relationship, and it gets difficult when partners don't live up to what they were supposed to, or so it's definitely doable. But yeah, I agree with Tim that you better wire it up buyout clauses and things like that, because in essence you're creating a small partnership, and even though you just wanted to keep it simple, it's never as simple. Just like anything, it's not as simple.
Yeah, you think of one. I'll give you one problem you got to think through, Jaime. I mean, which phone number is going to be printed on the postcards, and who's going to retain control of that number if something dissolves? Because I've actually had that issue in partnerships before, where it was an office number, and we were advertising the heck out of it for 2 years, and then there's going to be residual calls that float in on that number over the next couple of years. Well, who gets those calls? How are those calls going to be tracked? There's just a lot of issues. If you're using Google Voice, and it's, Jaime, if you were partnered with me and it was under my Google account, but then we stopped advertising together, who gets that Google Voice number? I mean, there's all types of issues you're going to have to think through if you're doing something like that. We could talk about the pitfalls on that for 2 hours. So yeah. Just be careful, but no, you're not breaking any rules. So then Steve asked, any other marketing lead generation tips besides absentee owner, owner-occupied, and probate? I know about NODs, notice of default, bankruptcy, etc., but he's curious to know if you yourself do anything other than AO, OO, probate, as you show in your marketing video. I mean, I'll answer and then George can. I personally do not. My marketing is limited to probates and the absentee owner-occupied properties in my backyard that I target on a monthly basis. George?
Yeah, I mean, I'll mix in obviously tax liens and pre-foreclosures and NODs. I mean, I'll mix in those. But I mean, your primary ones are your OOs and your AOs, and then Tim, you've made a lot of money on probate, so obviously that's a lead source that you believe in. And the bankruptcies. What I found is the bankruptcies are more wholesaling low equity, and even the NODs, they're not as motivated, but and you're going to get some calls from them just fishing around. So what I would say is, you need to do a little testing. I mean, I got a call today, Tim, from a guy, and he's just, hey, I cannot believe I sent out 1,000 postcards and I only got 2 calls. George, what am I doing wrong? So I'm like, you're not doing anything wrong. I mean, first off, let me look at your postcard. That's number one. And sometimes you're going to have that. Sometimes you're not going to get any calls. But I think if you average it over a 12-month period, it's going to be worth your while. And he's like, well, and he wants instant gratification. And, you know what, we don't we're not, I guess we're not promoting instant gratification. And, if that's what you want tangible results from every action you do, good luck, because that's not what we're here to tell you. I mean, it's a consistent 1,000, 1,500 postcards. You know what? Some people are going to connect. Are going to communicate with you, and some people aren't. And sometimes it takes a year for someone to call, not just a month. So don't expect instant gratification from this business or any business, unless you have a widget that's got a short, lifespan.
So George Bryant asked, he wants to give away a free report on his squeeze page. Any places to give pre-written template? I don't know that, and I think that you're off the mark on that, because a motivated seller, someone that is going to end up taking the offer you're going to present, really isn't looking for a free report. They're looking for someone to come out and solve their problem. George, your thoughts?
Yeah, I saw that email. I just put in Sell Your House ebooks, and you're going to find a lot of templates or squeeze pages that offer that. I guess you could download one or give them your name and email address. They all take that. But I think that there's something to that, Tim, capturing their email address but I don't have any. Heck, I think you and I could write one, pretty quickly, pretty easily, just kind of a 2 or 3 page ebook that says, hey, what do we do? And all it does is it has your name and your website on every page with a call to action. Hey, call us now, talk to one of our representatives, and what you need to look out for and things of that nature. But what I would do, here's what I would do. You could is go to one of these squeeze pages, download it, and make it your own. You can get, they say the highest form of flattery is copying someone else's work, and you're not going to plagiarize it, but you can get the bullets and then type up a paragraph on your own. Like, here's 5 bullets. Watch out for this. Expect this. Are you prepared for that? And on each page, it could be a one bullet could be a page, and then put your name and number and picture or whatever on each page, and there's your ebook right there.
Yeah, me personally, having bought over 1,000 houses from motivated sellers, my advice is that I don't feel like that's something necessary to succeed in this business. That's my initial thought. So,
okay.
So George, take that for what it may. Not George Roddy, George Bryant, but George Bryant. If you do want to do something like that, what you can do is follow what George just said. Go out, find something, create your own, put it in a PDF, and offer it as a download. So Randy says, when talking to a seller, I lost it. Do you speak in terms of their rehab cost as if they were going to use a contractor to do it themselves? Yeah, you always, when you're talking about rehab cost with the seller, you're basically, any numbers you're quoting are going to be what they would pay a general contractor like ServPro or one of these other out of the phone book companies, not even a general contractor like Pops at the Roddy Roundup, Chuck Emmons, or Blake Johnson, because really and truly these people probably don't have access to those investor-minded vendors. So if they were to get a general contractor to handle things, they're probably going to be in the phone book and calling ServPro or one of these other big companies, and if they're getting foundation work, they're probably calling Brown Foundation or Olshan and paying over $500 a pier. So, yeah, you always use retail numbers, not wholesale numbers with them. Carlos is asking about Google Voice. When someone calls your phone via the Google number at the time of the call, is it a way? Well, what happens, Carlos, and I'm inside on your screen right now, you should actually be looking inside my Google Voice account, and I'll blow the screen up a little bit to make it easier for you guys to see. So when you're inside Google Voice, you can come over here where your name is, and right below there's a settings. When you go into settings, this is my Google Voice number, and right now the calls are forwarded to Adam's phone number. Well, I need to change that. So now I'm going to have the phone calls forwarded to my cell phone number. That's it. That's all I have to do. And now instead of the buy calls forwarding to Adam, they're going to forward to me. But then Adam will actually, if I miss a call, he'll get a text message still. And then what you do, you go over here, you can set up a Google Voice greeting. I don't use that because it's always it always gets my personal cell phone greeting. Alert me when I have voicemails via email, text me, pin transcripts if possible. I do that. And then you go in here to calls. Call screening, turn that off, because if you leave that on, it's going to make them say their name when they call. And then caller ID, this is where you click display my Google Voice number. That way when it forwards to my cell phone, it will actually show the Google Voice phone number and not the person's number that calls, because I get so many calls, I need a way to visually know that I'm getting a buy call at that time. A lot of other options in here. This is enable recording. When you get a Google Voice number on your phone, if you hit the number 4, it will record the call. But it does tell them it's being recorded, so be ready for them to say, you're not going to record me. All types of other little things in here. Call widgets and circles. You don't need to mess with any of that. The biggest thing is make sure it forwards to your cell phone, and then make sure it forwards with your Google Voice number. That way you know it's a buy call when it comes in. And then if you do miss a call, the way you access that information is you download the Google Voice app for your smartphone. And so then you can access your Google Voice voicemails directly. So say I'm in a bad cell service area, and when Google Voice tries to forward to my phone is out of service, and it kicks it into the Google Voice voicemail system. Well, with that app on my phone, it automatically alerts me, and I get a text message from Google Voice. So, and then with the app on your phone, you can play the voicemails. If you get a call and you need to call someone back and you didn't get their phone number, you can go into your received call logs and call them back. You'll know what time of the day they called. So, Carlos, I just get in there and play with that. George, what do you think this next one says? Do you need a PO box?
Yeah, I would say that, it'd be better to get a physical address, so go to go to the UPS store, go to mailbox, etc., or something, or go to even the United States, the post office, and get a physical address. You want a physical address. It's that has a suite number that is your box number, or things of that nature. So I think PO box desensitizes yourself, and you want to give the impression that you do have an office, or that this isn't a hobby of yours. This is actually what you do. Even though you do, you might have a full-time job in another industry, people want to know, not that you're you don't have to give the impression you're a professional investor, but you want to give them the impression that you take this seriously enough. And so I would much rather see you have an address, and the suite number might be your box number. The next one, why do older homes get a higher offer per square foot? I think what you mean, Joseph, is if I understand your question correctly, why does it cost more to rehab older homes? Is that what he means, Tim?
That's kind of the way I understand it, and
okay.
So let's just answer it with that assumption.
Yeah. So basically, there's more layers to an onion. To use that analogy is, once you peel one layer of the onion, you have 3 more layers underneath, and there's a higher probability of high-ticketed items to be out of date and to be worn out, and preventive maintenance. If you have a 10-year-old home versus a 30-year-old home, there's a higher probability of preventive maintenance items have worn out or are in need of repair. So that's why it's understandable that, Tim and I have rehabbed a lot of houses, and these are just things that we've learned over the years that, HVACs, there's a higher probability of a little adjustment in the foundation, the roof. So, every house is unique, but really kind of depends on what kind of repairs and maintenance items have been performed over the last, X amount of years. So what we find is we're finding the ugliest ones on the block, because those are the ones that a lot of times make us more money when we're looking at high equity find and assign or wholesaling. So that's why. Just your $10 rule doesn't really work for a 30-year-old house.
Yeah, I mean, you got code issues. When a house was built in the 50s, George and I will tell you, almost all of them have an old Federal Pacific box. And depending on how you're wholesaling that house, if it's to a retail buyer, that buyer's going to have to upgrade it to sell it for full price. So it's like George said, it's the onions, it's the, all those different rings of the onion. The older the home, the more rings there are. Okay, Chris, that's a long question. I've been browsing through real estate investment forums, and many of the veteran users suggest avoiding war zones, market areas. Where is it hard for rookies to get started? The backyard target area I was thinking about selecting was HEB. Would you advise against this? If you do believe in the market area war zones, what additional areas would you suggest a new wholesaler avoid? There's really 3 areas of Dallas-Fort Worth, make that 4, that I personally would not look at a house in. And those areas are Fair Park and the surrounding areas inside the riverbanks, basically. An area called Joppy, right off of Interstate 45 south of Dallas. It's a very dangerous area. An area called Como in Fort Worth, where really and truly, the houses over there that I think they sell for $5-10 grand on average. And then Wilmer Hutchins, just because there's just not a whole lot going on down there economically speaking. They had the big international rail port, and that's having trouble, and there's been some bankruptcies down there, and their school district was dissolved. They're just not highly desirable areas. Now, I stop and preface all that by when someone calls, I don't just say, nah, I'm not interested. Thanks. What I do is I get their information, find out if they're really interested and motivated, and then at that point, since I'm building my buyers list first, I call around to people that I think may be interested in that house and see if I can refer it. And the best instance of that is I'm picking up a $3,000 check next Wednesday on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath frame house in Oak Cliff down by the VA hospital that I got the call on, and I had no interest in it, but I knew someone that I was pretty sure did. I picked up the phone, gave them a call. They went out, put the house under contract, and bought it as an owner finance property for their portfolio, and they're paying me $3 grand as a referral fee. George, your thoughts on avoiding areas?
All right, let me get wired in. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yep.
I was eating an apple, so I didn't want you to. I didn't want everybody to hear it. Yeah, who was that? Chris that answered that? I deleted his.
Yeah, it was Chris.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, Chris. What I would say is, I would stick with older neighborhoods, but bottom line is, for me, I would probably if I were to kind of sit down with you, I'd probably say stuff over 50,000 is, it's going to be more attractive. I think you're going to have, at the end of the day, we have to assign these deals to somebody. And I don't think the middle of the road analogy is in under 50,000 home price point. So I would stick with over 50,000 to 150, and that usually doesn't lend itself to war zones.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Do you see that next question from George Bryant?
Yeah, George Bryant. On these calls, access to Roddy Network is access. No. Yeah, so basically I have Roddy Network, which has about probably 6 or 7 other courses that I've taught, like short sales and title research and tax liens, and that was offered in a previous version of Flip That Contract. Access to that. So, right now, for this launch, that's not necessarily offered, but I'm going to go through Module 2, and I can adjust. My homework assignment, I guess, for this weekend or on Sunday is to go through the modules, and I'll remove those just to eliminate some confusion. All right, Joseph, from Module 1, I'm understanding we need 2 websites and 2 squeeze pages, 1 website for buying and 1 website for selling. To me, you need 2 pages. Tim, what did you have up when I first came on? What did you have up on the screen? What was that? Was it Tim Invest?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was timinvest.com, and I'm going to stop right here because I've had a lot of people ask me if I actually use real investor websites.
Right.
And the answer is I used to, but I have a very large hosting package with my websites that I run for DFW Investors, for Flip That Contract, etc. And I was able to put the timinvest.com underneath one of those servers for free, so then I canceled my real investor. I don't recommend someone new try to do that unless you're a techie guy or someone that has easy access to a website and website design. You need to go with the cheap REI websites or the real investor websites because it's done for you and it'll be up that day. So yeah, this is my Timinvest. It's through a WordPress, but it's just because I already had a server that had unlimited WordPress sites.
Right. But I guess what I want to show Joseph is we buy houses, and it doesn't have, more than give me your name and email address. That's all you need, Joseph, and hey, give me your name, give me your email, and then you just need to set up one, and cheap REI websites or real estate investor websites. They both have a buy site or a buy page and a sell page, and that's really all you want. This is the message. Timinvest.com is what's on all of the marketing pieces, and they get to see Tim, and see that he's got a drawl, he's got a southern drawl, and he's a real person. He's not an email campaign or a spider. And so that's what you want, but you don't want to take them about us. And Tim doesn't believe in offering. Scroll down a little bit, Tim. Offering a free ebook on his page. It's like, hey, here's who I am. If you have an interest, I'm a real guy. I'm local. Give me a call. Here's my phone number, or fill in your information, and we'll take the next step. That's all you need, Joseph. And then you need the same thing is you need to build your buyers list. So you need to have, hey, Joseph sells DFW homes, right? Or Joseph N sells DFW homes. And so, want to buy houses 20, 30% below market value. So you just have a quick, and look, he doesn't have about us, he doesn't have contact us, he doesn't have top 5 reasons. It's like, get to the point, Joseph. People they don't want to wait, so get to the point on who you are and what you do, and go from there.
Yeah, this page is loading really slow right now because I'm doing the. I mean, it's got a. I put an AWeber web form right here in the middle of the home page, and if they're logged in through Facebook, they can just hit register through Facebook. If they're not logged in through Facebook, they just hit submit. I mean, I used to use real investor websites until I learned how to do WordPress, but I only learned how to do WordPress because I run a website for dfwinvestors.com, and I run a website for reiexpo.com, and I run flipthatcontract.com. So we can't say this enough. Don't put off creating it until you can learn how to do these other things. Right now, take one of these turnkey, made-for-you, ready-today systems, get it, and you'll be done. And then you can move on to trying to buy houses. So Olive asked, where do you get your address list for probates? Do you physically go to the courthouse and look through volumes, or do you get your list from the county clerk online? And I think George would be the best to answer that.
Olive, thank you so much for being on the call. One of the better questions of the day. Now, to be serious, there's two ways of getting it. You've got free or you got fee. So free is basically go down to the probate office and get these leads because they will be typed up. Fee is go to the site that's on the screen now. So bottom line is you got to ask yourself, how much is your time worth? So we charge $35 to $40 a month per county, and this is what we give you, and so we do the work for you, or you can do the work on your own and save $35 a month. So bottom line is that's your two options. Do it yourself or pay somebody to do it for you. And I know we're all on a beer budget, a limited budget. How much does that say? Probate? Yeah. So, and some people want, they want the, there it is, $49, sorry. So 3 months, you get a little discount for 6 months or a year, but, that's definitely a lead source that we would, there's more motivation, and there's usually higher equity on those leads. So anyway, thanks for the question, but at the end of the day, you can spend a lot of money on leads, so you have to have a budget, but we're pretty cost effective. So call Rebecca or Sherry or George Sr., and they can get you set up.
So which MLS source do you, if you don't have a dependable realtor for comps? Peter, this is probably one of the most common questions that George and I get. And I mean, these are your 4 or 5 options. Peter, you could marry a realtor, and that will get you MLS access for life.
Or until that marriage dissolves.
Correct.
Right? Don't say, I mean, the statistics are not with us, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
So now the interesting thing about that, Peter, is it's still not free because even realtors pay $150 a quarter for their MLS dues in order to have access to MLS. So it's still about $50 a month. The other way is you can use a company like Investway that's going to charge you, I think, $100 a month or something like that.
Yeah, put that up there. Put that up there for them.
Well,
so you can.
Yeah, I've never even used Investway. I know of a couple people that have, and I mean, they like it, so great. I don't even know. Let's see, Dallas Fort Worth, and they got all this Deal Digger, Total Access, and Turbo Bidding, this and that, and I mean, my professional opinion is it's probably a waste of money. I mean, I don't believe in paying $79 a month for MLS access. If you want to play with it, knock yourself out. That's Investway. The Flip That Contract preferred way is to use Property Analyzer Pro, which the rates are here. It's $50 a month, $138 a quarter, $260 semi-annually, or $450 a year, which breaks down to about $37 a month. It's not, I mean, Property Analyzer Pro has some bugs. If you use it, it's run and maintained by FLS. They're very responsive to user feedback if you actually provide it. If you don't provide the user feedback, don't expect your problems to be solved. You know, it works. Most of the tutorials on comps in this training have been done on Property Analyzer Pro. I have used Property Analyzer Pro to pull appointments and everything. I can vouch for it. The only thing, you know, and to be in full disclosure, I don't use it because I've been using MLS for 10 years, and that's just what I'm used to. And we pay more than $450 a year for our MLS access with Jennifer's Realtor dues. The other way to get it is if you just want sold and leased comps, you can actually become an affiliate member through MetroTex, which is the Board of Realtors here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'll show you real quick. You can go to MetroTex, dfwrealtors.com, and real estate customers. And then there's a affiliate resources section somewhere in this website, and then you member shortcuts, MetroTex news, staff directory, benefits. I'd have to find it. It's on one of the modules. I've done it. We have a couple students that have actually bought it. You do get access to Real List and the comps. There it is, affiliate application. It's $40, but then there's dues. They're like $200 a year, and then there's a quarterly fee. You just have to go through all this again. I don't use it, so you would have to go through and figure it out. There's some advantages. You do have direct MLS access, and oh, here it is. It's $163 a quarter plus a $375 one-time fee plus this application fee and affiliate fee. So I mean, you'll have to contact them and do it. You do get access to the nitrous tax, which is a nice little benefit. But I mean, my recommendation to everyone is to click on this little button here and use Property Analyzer Pro, because it works, it's cheaper, and you can get support from George Sr., George Jr., and Rebecca. But I have to say this, you don't get support from me on Property Analyzer Pro. I don't, George and them, I'm not part of that. So I get people that email me saying, hey, on Property Analyzer, you know, that's not for me. That's for the Roddy family because it's their product. I think I explained that enough. Okay, plus or minus that a house you're looking at could have a zoning change to business zoning. It depends on what you're trying to do with the house. I mean, I can tell you if you've got a house in Richardson that could be zoned commercial soon, I've actually got a buyer for that, so call me about that. But because I know I have a friend that's looking for an office in Richardson that he's wanting to buy a single-family home. But if it's about to be zoned business or commercial, that would tell me that it's probably on a busy street, which would, so the minus to that would be it seems as if the house could end up having a white elephant issue of being on a busy street.
Yeah, I mean, usually business zoning means that you can turn it into something that's worth more money. I mean, usually you don't get it rezoned for what's the real estate term is highest and best use, right? You know, I mean, Brian, that's what what is the highest and best use for that dirt? And, you know, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have made a lot of money by turning a residential lot into a commercial. So I would, you know, usually it doesn't go the other way where you turn commercial into residential, because there's not as much money in that unless it's multifamily. And, you know, that's not residential. That's, you know, a fourplex or a retail center. So you know, my take would be that could be a pro. You know, you're going to have to do some due diligence. I mean, you know, I know, Brian, where you live, and there's a section of town where you live that there is some rezoning going on in the center of town, and I think that's a good thing. There's a good opportunity for that. So anyway.
Okay, I have a person who wants to sell land out of the country. I know the area and country. What advice can you give me on that? I have several buyers who want to buy it as well. I can't help you at all. Maybe George can.
I can't help you. You have land out of the country. Yeah, I don't know.
The only place I could help you at is, Jaime, if it's in Costa Rica, give me a call. I know some people that have bought and do buy land in Costa Rica because that's where they want to retire.
And yeah, Jaime, let me know if it's Playa de Carmen, because I would like to buy some land there.
Yeah.
But do you mean you have a person who wants to sell land in the country, or are you? It's out of the United States. So if it's out of the United States, I really can't help you. But if it's a good deal and it's on the beach, I'd like to talk to you.
Would you get a property where there are a few foreclosures in the neighborhood and a few rental properties already, even if the home was fairly new, built in 05 with no repairs? Yes. It's all about price.
Yeah.
Quick question. Do you use Google Form for your WordPress site? Joseph, I don't know. My IT guy does that for me. I think he just did a plugin that's a contact form plugin. That's all I know. Anybody got any other questions? Oh, there's one. What's a great goal for a beginner's buyer's list to be effective wholesaler? Best track kept on Excel? No, Peter, you need to go inside the modules. It talks about setting up an email list, management software. I highly recommend that you get a MailChimp account because it's free. It's free and it's free. Those are my three reasons. Then, Peter, the biggest thing is you just start capturing email addresses on all these meetup groups that blast out emails. There's a couple big ones that send out a lot of emails and through their meetup group, and there's an email from email address on every correspondence. And my seller, Jason, has made a lot of money for me by capturing those email addresses. You go to events like the Roddy Roundup every month, and you make it your goal to walk away with 50-plus new business cards. You go to other free events in the Metroplex and specifically focus on events that you think will have an impact on the area that you're going to focus your business in. And I tell you this, in this day and age, the best kept secret and number one tip to success on building a good buyer's list is picking up the phone and talking to someone, because no one talks anymore. Everyone sends emails and tells people to go to their webpage. And when someone says, I want to buy houses, you need to ask them where. When they say they pay cash, you need to clarify if it's cash, line of credit, or bank financing. Get to know them, listen to them. It's kind of the old sales 101.
Relationship.
Yeah, relationships. Mountainside, and it's close to Costa Rica. If it's close to Costa Rica, that means it's not Costa Rica, and I can't help you. My thought on FreedomSoft websites, Jim, I don't know anything about FreedomSoft or their websites. All I know is I've never met anyone that is a FreedomSoft member or subscriber that was actually successful.
Hey, Jim, email me. I'd like to look at it because I want to see what they offer. I know the Freedom Soft, and Freedom Soft's has benefits, but I don't know enough about it. But Jim, send me like a temporary login name and password or something. So let me dig into there, and I'll give you my assessment. If you want my opinion. Or send it to Flip. What is it? FTC. What is our email? How does Jim send us that?
Just send it to edu@flipthatcontract.com and I'll forward it to you.
Okay. edu@flipthatcontract.com. Okay.
Hey, Steve, we don't talk about 1099s or tax responsibilities because everyone's different. And we could get in trouble or get you in trouble for doing that. I'll tell you, with a 1099, the IRS rules or anyone that you pay, it's $600 or $650, George?
$650.
$650 in a year. You got to give them a 1099, unless it's an entity. If it's a corporation or an entity, you don't have to 1099 them because the government feels that they're responsible enough to keep track of it themselves. If it's an individual, you got to 1099 them, and to do that, you need to get a W-9 anytime you give them money. W-9 is just where they fill out all their tax information. Other than that, every dollar you make in wholesaling will be ordinary income. So depending on your personal financial situation and your asset base, you may want to form an LLC or a C Corp or S Corp, etc., because everything you earn will be treated as ordinary income, and depending on your tax bracket, you'll be taxed accordingly.
Once you do your second deal, which, Steve, I know you've already done 2 deals, but for everybody else, let's worry about that on the third deal. In between the second and third, then we go get set up. Y'all aren't buying real estate yet. Y'all are controlling it and making money at it. But once you make 10 or 5 to 10 grand on your first 2 deals, then we have enough money to go sit down with Angie Siebenecker or some other CPA and sit down with a lawyer, Brian Dunklin, and structure this, on how to best, manage your business now.
So, with that being said, it is 1:08. I'm going to have a closing thought and let George have a closing thought. I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to go buy a house in Mesquite at 2 o'clock. The point behind the picture on your screen right now is that Marine that's yelling at the other Marine. The thing that most people miss in this picture is he's got a Purple Heart, meaning he was wounded in combat. He has 3 Navy Marine Corps Achievement Medals, 2 Combat Action Ribbons, and 5 Sea Service Deployment Ribbons. That Marine has a right to yell. And that's not this kind of training, but I will give you a parting shot of motivation. And that motivation is, at the end of the day and at the end of your life, you're going to be the one that's accountable for your own success or lack thereof. So dive into this training, dive into every module. Don't skip. Don't expect something to be given to you or instant gratification. And in 2003, when I was the buyer for a HomeVestor franchise in Rowlett, I bought 111 houses and I wholesaled 86 of them. It was my second year in this business. I was once asked by the CEO, the late Ken D'Angelo, what my secret was. And I told him I work hard. So work hard. This week, work hard. This week, if you don't like where you're at, change it yourself. Don't send a bunch of emails and want other people to change it. Go change it yourself. Take accountability for your own future and own it. George?
I want you guys, I said it in the beginning, I'm going to say it at the end. What's your why? Why are you here? And I want to see it. I'd like to know what your why is. And if you haven't joined the FTC Facebook, here's what I want you to do. I want to see everybody that's on this call. I want you to I want you to visualize making $100,000. What I do is I have a check in my money clip of $100,000 check, and it's made out to me. I want to see all of you guys write a $100,000 check to yourself and date it, because I really think that you need to see that's the possibility. And you could write it for $10,000, but I want to see an image of a $100,000 check written to yourself and dated 12 months from tomorrow, because that can happen for you guys, and it's not just blowing smoke. I want you to see a $100,000 check made out to you, Jaime, and made out to you, Brian, and made out to you, Carlos. I want to see it, so I want you to write a $100,000 check to yourself. I want you to date it from 1 year from today, and I'm hoping that you will have made that 1 year from today, or you'll be on your way to making a $100,000 check for somebody, because it's empowering. So join the Flip That Contract Facebook, write the check, and I want to see it, and I'll show you mine. Okay, that's my closing thought.
All right, guys, go make it a great week. Make sure you register for the bus trip, and we'll see you soon.